Welcome back to Talk of the Town. With me now is Josh Gruber. He is the interim county administrator for Beaufort County, and we are here talking about a sales tax referendum.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're going to say that's not a bad word today, right?
No, it's actually a really great opportunity to do a couple of very important projects for this community. So Beaufort County Council several months ago passed an ordinance calling for a referendum that's going to be on the ballot this November.
Okay.
That calls for a transportation sales tax. And so it's going to raise $120 million over a 4-year period to help fund 3 specific projects. The biggest of those is $80 million in funding for local match for a project to improve traffic along the corridor from Moss Creek to Squire Pope Road,
okay.
Which for anybody who's driven those roads recently,
yes,
can be a little bit crowded.
Just a little. Just a touch.
So, we're estimating that total project is probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $240 million based upon current estimates. So our plan is to raise $80 million here locally through the sales tax referendum.
Okay.
We're then going to go to the state, specifically the Infrastructure Bank, and ask for $120 million in state funding to go with $40 million that the South Carolina Department of Transportation already has for this project. So that kind of puts together our $240 million budget to try to add capacity to that area and help ease the congestion that we're seeing.
Okay. Is it just to widen and allow for more capacity, or is it also shoring up the bridge, so to speak? So
that's actually kind of what prompted this. Not only is there issues with the lack of capacity, but one of the 4 spans, and so there's 2 eastbound spans, 2 westbound spans, one of those 4 spans has reached the end of its useful life.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's unsafe, but it means it needs to be ready to be replaced, and so that's what DOT is looking at. But the issue is if DOT comes in and replaces that bridge with another 2-lane bridge, it's not going to fix our overall bigger problem, which is the lack of capacity. So that's why we're trying to use that as a springboard to do a bigger project, which is actually going to better meet the needs of the community.
Gotcha. And what are the other projects that it would go to?
So the other 2 projects, $30 million for transportation improvement projects on Ladies Island. So from the Chowan Creek Bridge to the Woods Memorial Bridge, that corridor, seeing a significant amount of traffic because of growth as well, very similar to what we're seeing down here in Hilton Head. And so there's a number of projects, about 10 or 12 of them, that were projected there to help increase capacity through that area. And then we have $10 million that we're looking at doing for sidewalks and multi-use pathways. And so there's a whole list of eligible roads that are scattered over all areas of the county. So those are the 3 projects that would be funded through this specific sales tax.
And so what if somebody says to you, I never go to Ladies Island, or I live on the island, but I never go to Bluffton, or vice versa, I live in Bluffton, I never go to the island. Why does this matter to me?
It matters because, especially for Hilton Head Island is one of the main economic generators for our entire county. And so if that suffers because of the traffic concerns, people get in their cars and they drive 8 or 9 hours to get here, and if they sit in traffic for another 4 hours just trying to get to their condo, after a while they're not going to want to come down here. And so we need to make it easy and convenient for them, and also easy and convenient for the people that work on the island to get here. And so for all of those various reasons, we need to have that capacity, because we need to maintain the economic benefits of the island, because the better that the island does from an economic standpoint, everybody else shares in that benefit.
Okay, that makes sense. And what happens if it doesn't pass?
So what happens if it doesn't pass? It doesn't mean that this project is necessarily dead. It means that it becomes very difficult, and we're limited in the number of ways that we could go about paying for it. There's the possibility that we could look at bringing forward a voter bond referendum. The problem with that is that voters would have to pay 100% of the debt service, whereas if we do a sales tax, we're capturing a lot of revenue from out-of-state residents who are coming here to visit. And so it helps to kind of share in that burden between local residents and out-of-state residents, whereas a bond referendum is going to be 100% on the local property owners. Other alternatives that we could look at are things like a toll road, other kind of outside-the-box ideas, but nothing that really is as efficient as what a sales tax is.
So one way or another, this thing is getting funded.
Well, people who have driven on that roadway know that it's a problem today, and that problem's not going to go away until we do something about it. And so we need to be able to add capacity in there, and that means raising the funding that's necessary to do those kind of projects.
Well, thank you for being with us today and explaining it to us. It's really valuable information, and make sure you're looking for that referendum on the ballot in November, and we'll be right back on Talk of the Town.